Okay, we should be live. Let me know if you could hear me. Get some music going, and we will shout out the chat and then go through the witnesses that were announced today for this upcoming hearing. Exciting stuff, exciting times. Christopher Fiddler, restoring public trust, that will be the day, right? Surreal, last minute change in witness. It's Bob Lazar, bitches. That's that's something that's going to come up here in my little presentation here, because Knapp being on there opens a lot of doors, a lot of potential doors. Spy account testing 1 2 3. Stoned Ape, friend of the show, lovely mod. Let me quadruple check she's a mod. Oh no, she's not a mod. Holy shit. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and change that real quick, live in the thing. And we're going to go ahead and make Ulrich a mod too, another friend of the show. All right, added. Boom. All right. Heather Birdie, have a good stream today, Panda. Thank you, Heather. Global Takeover, Knapp's Ace card, present. UFO SpaghettiOs. Nuccatelli is a bad pick. His story is that someone told him contractors saw a big red rectangle. Bosun, finally caught a live stream. Hell yeah, you're here, brother. Montezuma, hi. Hi, Brack. Bosun, Matt Brown and Mike Herrera would have been better options, in my opinion. Yeah, put if you guys are happy with them, who you would like to see. Montezuma, UFO. Flathouse Media, where's Sawan? Can Sawan testify? That's my dream. I hope Sawan testifies one day. I think that'd be funny. It would be funny as hell. Him just crashing out and exposing everyone. Ulrich Doomer Daddy, new mod, hell yeah. Can we keep our clothes on for this? Yeah, let's see how excited we are. Derek Dougherty, we need the level of headed reasoning of Sawan. I agree. Restand Sawan over here. Global Takeover, did it start? No, I was super late. I'm sorry. Lovely mod Jess, let's go. Okay. And we're going to go ahead and get it going. Round 1 says, I heard that Bob Lazar is testifying. That'd be crazy. Lazar is next. Everyone's talking about Lazar. Yeah, you can't really separate Knapp from Lazar. So I guess let's go ahead and get into it. I'll turn down the music a little bit, but still keep it up so it's like still nice and vibey. Okay, now get back to our presentation. All right, yeah, the big hearing. Hell yeah. Despite Eric Davis's weird blackmail obfuscation yesterday, which I'll probably do another stream today. I'm kind of feeling activated today. This is going to be happening. We've been hearing about it. Let's turn down a lot more too. All right, so let's just get into it. So this was announced today, the UAP hearing. Luna announces hearing on transparency relating to unidentified anomalous phenomena. Washington, Task Force on the Defense of Federal Secrets, Chairwoman Anna Paulina Luna, Republican, Florida, 13th District, Clearwater, Florida, today announced a hearing on restoring public trust through UAP transparency and whistleblower protection. During the hearing, members will hear from witnesses on the continued concerns regarding disclosure of unidentified anomalous phenomena and information held by federal agencies, and will examine transparency issues surrounding the Department of Defense and intelligence community. Members will also analyze the work and effectiveness of DoD's congressionally mandated All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, AARO. Ooh, looks like AARO's going to get a spanking, especially looking at the lineup list. What else do we got? Got a quote. The American people deserve maximum transparency from the federal government on sightings, acquisitions, and examinations of UAPs and whether they pose a potential threat to American safety. Whistleblowers who provide details on spending information and policies and procedures regarding the classification and declassification of UAPs should be able to do so without retribution. I look forward to hearing from witnesses on how the federal government can improve transparency and provide better answers on UAPs, said Task Force Chairwoman Anna Paulina Luna. What? Task Force on the Declassification of Federal Secrets hearing titled Restoring Public Trust Through UAP Transparency and Whistleblower Protection. Date, Tuesday, September 9th, which I believe is less than a week away now. Time, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Location, in case you're curious, in case you're in DC, HVC 210 U.S. Capitol Visitors Center. And there's a thing for media to RSVP. Let's refresh real quick some of the stuff Burlison had said in the infamous Tupa space about these witnesses and whatnot.
Thank you for your patience. I was listening as I was eating dinner. I've been traveling. In fact, I've traveled to. I spent the whole day traveling to get to see somebody that is a whistleblower for this topic.
Wow.
So,
well, thank you
fact,
for all the work you're putting in on this.
Yeah,
boots on the ground. We appreciate it.
This is the third
Really
trip
do, man.
that I've made this this August recess. So when everybody else is fundraising, I'm spending this time heads down on this. So let me give you an idea, and I would say one of the most rememberable conversations I've had was the one that I had recently, where Anna, Polina, Luna, and myself met with a whistleblower. I had to travel to get there, and I mean, it took me an entire day to get there and back. And it was someone who is coming from the nautical source, and so the activity that's happening under the ocean is what he was talking about, and it was kind of remarkable. Almost reminded me of the movie Abyss. To give you asked me about a movie.
Oh yeah.
He didn't say Abyss, but the things he was talking about reminded me of the movie Abyss.
Now, in regards to the water kind of formation or the like almost jellyfish manta ray beings?
No, just that there is a structure in the deep ocean.
Wild. Thank you.
I'm not saying
And yeah,
that
we're
it's
trying to do rapid. I don't.
And again, let me kind of say this. I have been.
That was his part where he was saying he's been misquoted and all this stuff. Okay, fun.
To give you an idea who we've got, one individual is a former U.S. Air Force veteran who is going to speak to 5 UAP incidents.
So I think this is Jeff Nuccatelli that he's speaking about here, and I totally forgot to read the names on that thing, but we're about to get into him anyway. So let's see.
During his time that he witnessed, and that he investigated. You've got another individual who is a Navy officer who witnessed UAP events firsthand. And
so this is the Alexander Wiggins guy, or Alexandro. I don't know. Oh shoot.
To give you an idea who we've got, you've got another individual who is a Navy officer who witnessed UAP events firsthand, and then another U.S. Air Force officer who has witnessed firsthand events. So we've got.
So I think this is the unknown guy. The what's his name? The Dylan Borland. That's what I think he's talking about there. I should have read the names first, but sorry.
And I'm not going to give their names, but those are the individuals that we've been working on. We often have people trying to get, that have already come out publicly, and I think that a lot of people some people want those, but I think that what's better is if we bring forward some new perspectives and people that have not come forward until this moment, some fresh witnesses. So that's kind of what we're working on.
Got it. And then the date, is that official or not? September 9th?
Right now, that is the date, September 9th.
Good job, experience. So we got 2 Air Force guys, 1 Navy guy. And yeah, so they announced the things today. Let's see, I think they got a... Oh, I don't have a picture.
To give you an idea...
Well, first one's Knapp here. Let me just put a thing real quick of the 4 of them. Oh, we could do this. Let's do this. All right, can you see that? There we go, boom. All right, so yeah, we got Jeff Nuccatelli, who's this guy right here, right? He's been in the mix for a bit. We're going to cover his stuff. He's the guy who is related to the Vandenberg sighting. I don't think he saw it, but he was like witness to the reactions of all of it and stuff like that. He's been kind of in the mix for a while now too in the back channel, so we'll cover that. We got Chief Alexandro Wiggins. He came out a few months ago on Weaponized with a Tic Tac video. He's in the Navy. He seems like a chill dude. Got George Knapp. That was kind of an interesting one. I didn't really expect it. Did you guys expect George Knapp? I didn't really expect George Knapp. I mean, I guess in terms of like legacy long term, like he kind of like deserves it if anyone does. But I mean, there are some potential vectors for like weirdness happening, although I don't think they would, but they might arise, and we'll cover some of that as we go through each of these people. And then we got this guy, Dylan Borland, UAP witness, U.S. Air Force veteran. So not much is known about him. I think maybe he might be connected to the Jeff Nuccatelli sighting, but I don't know. If anybody knows anything about that, let me know. Yeah, okay, let's get back to it. So we got the Napster first and foremost. So let's go through some of the stuff we have prepared for the Napster. Let's see.
We've talked about UFOs, if they're real, and what the government knows. There's a fight for disclosure happening on Capitol Hill right now. I sat down with award-winning journalist George Knapp for an exclusive interview. He's been reporting on this topic for WNCT's Vegas sister station, KLAS, since the 1980s. Here's part 3.
Bob Lazar said he worked at a secret facility near Groom Lake where alien technology.
First things first, Bob Lazar. I don't think you can separate George Knapp from Bob Lazar. And what's kind of interesting, and this is where it's like one of the potential vectors for red flag. I could have swore that I tried to find the clip, but I couldn't find it. But that Knapp had said like he does think Lazar kind of lied about his education. Now that might not be the case or anything, but you know, Bob Lazar I think was invited to testify to Congress like 2 years ago or so. He was also invited to publicly debate Eric Weinstein, and he declined both of those. So, I mean, let's think about it. Last time at the hearing, there was like 12 Congress people, and they all had like 5 minutes each to ask. So someone's going to ask about Bob Lazar. Probably a bunch of people are going to ask about Bob Lazar. But let's continue here.
Technology was being reverse engineered.
Bob did that interview with us, the live interview. He used a suit on him, and we blacked out his face. But his bosses knew who he was, and they called him immediately after. And the line that they gave him was, "Do you know what's going to happen to you now?"
Knapp told me that Lazar had threats on his life that seemed straight out of a Hollywood movie.
He was carrying a gun. He went to a gym with a friend of his. They go to the gym. They lock the door. His gun is in the car. They come out an hour later. The doors to the car are open. The windows are rolled down. This Uzi that he had in the car is laying on the front seat. They just made it pretty clear that they were following him and were messing with him. And I know that we were followed as well because some of the guys who did it years later told me about it.
KLAS's phones were tapped.
6 people I talked to on the phone the very next day were visited by government agents who told them to shut the hell up.
Now, decades later, U.S. representatives say the Pentagon is still stonewalling their attempts at disclosure.
Members of Congress who sit on judiciary, armed services, and the oversight committees are being denied access to this information.
Whistleblower David Grusch has echoed Lazar's claims, but he says Congress has failed to act in a meaningful way.
What we're witnessing right now is, quite frankly, the greatest legislative failure in American history.
Wow, and let's have fun real quick. We're here having fun. Let's look at this Scorcese edit I did about Bob Lazar. If Scorcese directed it, let's just have fun. I'm gonna have to probably cut it out because that's copyrighted music, but we're having fun with the live people. That's why you come live. So will any of this be brought up at the hearing? Let's see.
Ever since I could remember, I wanted to be a gangster.
We have a lineup and all the girls come out and then he picks which one he likes.
In a legal brothel.
Those early days in Vegas were some of the best times of my life. We lived like kings and didn't have a care in the world.
That interest eventually led to some work he did for a small bordello in a residential Las Vegas.
Maybe if I pause it, maybe it'll let me do the copyright strike. But yeah, I mean, it's a fucking, everyone knows this story. You know, Joe Rogan, still his most popular podcast, I think, on his YouTube channel is the Bob Lazar one. Still more so than Trump.
Vegas neighborhood.
We did what we wanted to do when we wanted to do it, and however we wanted. And although dealing with prostitutes and Johns could be difficult, they were easy work compared to what was to come.
Yeah, that's the craziest part about the Bob Lazar story is like he's like a pimp. Pretty wild.
Easy work compared to what was to come.
There's several, actually 9 flying saucers. When you add it all up, Lazar says he's an easy target to discredit.
A group of Hell's Angels bikers showing up as spectators at the federal district court.
Oh, yeah, the Hell's Angels have a weird random part in the Lazar story too. Pretty funny.
It's obvious that it's very difficult to get information on this group of life.
Of which the most easily verifiable is my early 1980s job here at the Los Alamos Mason Physics Facility in Los Alamos, New Mexico.
B special in Japan.
And I get people telling me, well, I don't see why you don't believe him. He seems so sincere. Sincerity is not a check on truth.
A-Rod and I are going to go out on a search and destroy mission trying to find those enemies of you that are...
And if I ask you on camera if you know Bob Lazar, can you just say no?
Have you seen silently?
Our methodology of the study of yoga based upon the concept of the martial way.
Dude, we gotta do a talk show on fucking Showtime. That's what we gotta do.
Not looking for a handout, nor do I expect any sympathy. I simply tell you this because I want it on the record.
Remember, not everyone who sees a disc in the sky is crazy, so keep your eye on the sky, especially here in Central Nevada, and thanks for listening.
That's the other thing you got to love about Lazar, right? Not every whistleblower has this, like, especially in the 80s, there's like video where you're driving a DeLorean through the desert. God bless him. God bless this community. At the very least, it's entertaining. So yeah, I don't think there's any way that Bob Lazar doesn't come up in the hearing. It's like kind of what everyone knows him for. Cool video. Thank you, Global Takeover. Shout out Edward Teller. Yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff. Bob Lazar is the original Heisenberg. Yes, I mean, yeah, he's definitely in the mix of a lot of worlds. I guess that might be a good way of putting it. Okay, what do we got next? Oh yeah, so our friend Terrestrial Material, who was on yesterday, you know, is this going to come up? Let's hear what. This is still related to Bob Lazar.
We do know now that research into anti-gravity is at the top of the list of what American tech companies are doing and Defense Department folks are doing, and anti-gravity propulsion is something they want very badly. Bob said that the key to it was this element 115. He had a piece of it. I saw it. In fact, he had a little experiment they did with what's called a cloud chamber, where they had, it looked to me like light. They had a piece of this 115 in this chamber. They put some smoke in it, and it seemed, and then had a beam of light through it, and the light bent. Bob, at one point, when he thought he was going to die, had this piece of 115 in it was in a lead casing, in a disc-shaped casing, and he had it in front of a particle accelerator at his house, and he had the accelerator on, and all he had to do was flip a button. If this stuff was real, as he described it, flipping that button would hit it with, I don't know, it's protons, electrons, whatever it was, that would make it explode, an annihilation that would have left a great big hole in Las Vegas. Now, he had that piece. I saw the experiment. What happened to it, that's a story for another time. It's in a spot now where nobody could get to it, but it's still there.
Oh, so George Knapp knows where the 115 is? I wonder if that'll come up in Congress. Mr. Knapp, where's the element 115, sir? Ulrich says element 115 is Lazar's dead man switch. Global Takeover says Lazarium. Stone Ape says Moscovium. Yeah, that's the other thing about the Lazar story. Like, there's something weird about it, right? Even if he's BSing, like, how much money? What if the Bob Lazar story causes the Soviet Union and then Russia to spend like all this money on some like dumbass thing like Moscovium that like can't really do anything with? Something to think about. The red curtain keeps making me expect him to be funny. Oh, I know, right? Okay, let's see. So here's another thing, you know, this is one of the things I find really most interesting about Knapp is that like allegedly when the Soviet Union fell, he got like all these like UFO videos and stuff from like defecting generals and oligarchs and whatnot. Because I think something else about Knapp, and I don't know if it's connected or not, but like apparently before he was into UFOs, he was covering the mafia and whatnot. So maybe some of like those connections he made helped him during this stuff, because it was like a wild time for information flow in the Soviet Union. But let's watch some of this.
March 1991, radar at the Leningrad airport detects first one, then two, then three unidentified objects hovering over a nuclear plant. From a dead stop, the UFO zipped away at 2,000 miles per hour. The Urals, 1976, a photographer clicks this shot and later provides a more detailed drawing. May 1992, a military team in the Kola Peninsula tapes this spinning object. In Tbilisi, a crew shooting a music video spots this overhead. Today, average Russians are free to discuss UFOs, but it wasn't always so. Through the 50s and 60s, the Kremlin declared UFOs a capitalist creation, thus a non-topic. But behind the scenes, Stalin and other leaders authorized secret UFO studies. Retired Colonel Boris Sokolov commanded such a study for 10 years. The entire Russian military took part. Thousands of reports were generated, but were kept secret until 1993, when Sokolov first spoke to us. The study included
See, this could get interesting, and I think this needs to be played up more. Is the like, although it's kind of played up in our field, the arms race thing of it. Like, there is a sense of urgency with all this shit that I think a lot of people kind of sleep on, especially I think with AI. My gut's telling me that we've all been in a Manhattan Project type arms race with Russia and China, and that AI is going to put someone over the thing. And maybe that's what the mystery drones are, right? Maybe that's what Matthew Livelsberger said, that the mystery drones over America were China beating us to reverse engineering this stuff. The Chinese Bob Lazar was able to crack it, and we weren't. You know what I mean? There's like this weird, like, Manhattan Project. No one said this whole UFO disclosure thing has to be like totally peaceful, right? Like, if that were to happen, like, we'd be fucked.
40 incidents of Russian warplanes encountering UFOs. One MiG had its wing damaged in a collision with a UFO. This former pilot says a UFO disabled his plane with a beam of light. In 1982, a UFO hovered over a nuclear missile base in the Ukraine for hours. Unexplainably, codes were entered and the missiles were ready for launch until the UFO vanished. General Igor Maltsev, for 7 years commander of the entire Soviet air defense system, recalls a UFO flap over Moscow in 1990. Hundreds of visual and radar observations by military personnel. Maltsev confirms his standing order was, don't fire on the UFOs, but he declines to say.
See, like, this is pretty fire. This is pretty fire for 1996. You know, and I feel like, you know, Knapp and Corbell, my good friend UAP Mike says, you know, they get points on the board, dude. Not everything they do is going to be like fire, but like, this is commendable, respectable. This is dope that this exists.
Much else. His boss, the former deputy defense minister, declined to speak altogether under orders. And even Sokolov is now reluctant to talk, in part because he was attacked in communist newspapers following our 1993 interview. There's more than one kind of chill in the Moscow air these days. With the double political whammy of the revived communists and the scary
look at little young 40-year-old George Knapp. Aw.
The Russian government needs a UFO expose like it needs a red, white, and blue paint job on the Kremlin. Science has received the message. Individuals and the Russian Academy are now downplaying their long-term studies of UFOs. Oddly, the KGB has opened up, including a release of this long secret film of a UFO. KGB adds it has no ongoing interest in flying saucers, although it does have several hundred files.
Okay, so yeah, and there's even more on this too. I think I got more on this.
Somebody else reacted, I guess, to the wall.
So this is kind of still on the same beat of the Russia stuff. There's this weird FBI shit going on in the background of everything happening right now. I don't know what it is, but here he's talking. Here's George Knapp talking to UFOs and Nukes author Robert Hastings, and mention of Knapp's like Russian document thing comes up. So yeah, let's just watch it.
Wall Street Journal article and reached out to you, the FBI. Can you share some of those details with us?
Actually, about a month ago, Bob Salas emailed me and said, I've been interviewed by an FBI agent out of the Phoenix office. His name is Adam Herndon. And he seems very interested in, what happened to me at Malmstrom in '67. And he wonders if he can talk to you. And I said, sure. So I talked to him on the phone about 10 days ago, 12 days ago. And
is that sus? Oh, no, not
and
there.
just yesterday, as a matter of fact, I spoke with Adam and another FBI agent named Michael Herwig. And we talked for 2 hours. I'm surprised I made it for 2 hours, but they had lots of questions, and they seemed very intrigued by what I had to say. They asked, I don't know if you read your email yet today, George, but they were asking about the Russian documents that you brought back and so on. And so I'm also in touch with Jim Semigan.
They're really interested in you, George. They're asking about the Russian documents you brought back. We'll just
Agent named Michael Herwig. And we talked for 2 hours. I'm surprised I made it for 2 hours, but they had lots of questions, and they seemed very intrigued by what I had to say. They asked, I don't know if you read your email yet today, George, but they were asking about the Russian documents that you brought back and so on. And so I'm also in touch with Jim Semivan, former high-level CIA, and Chris Mellon and Lou Elizondo. And all three of them, when I told them that the FBI was going to interview me, all three of them said, do it. We've talked to them.
Lou and Chris are keeping tabs on who's talking to the FBI. I personally think it has to do with like Lou's weird operations that he's doing on like citizens. Maybe I'm wrong, but I will say, when all this CIFA shit broke, like Lou's name has already been in an FBI investigation on some sketch shit. You know what I mean? Just saying, he'd try to get MZM all that money, all that sketch money.
We think their heart's in the right place, and they're trying to get legitimate information to give them, bring them up to speed as to what's been going on over the years. So it was a very good experience, and I trust these two individuals that they're sincere in their approach and their intent.
Okay, let's see. What do we got next? We're still barely in the Napster. Hell yeah, we're having fun. Okay.
A ton.
Here we go. Jess sent me this one. I think it's related to the Russia stuff. Let's see.
Classified documents out of Russia himself during Glasnost and Perestroika. He went and met with the heads of the UFO programs in Russia during that time period. He came back with all those documents and actually supplied them to some people. Like that happened.
It had a lot to do with Harry Reid's decision to go ahead and support funding, because those documents show that the Russians are trying to do what we're trying to do, which is to take this stuff apart and figure out how it works.
And what year was this?
This is 1993, the first time I went. But their study lasted, they had the biggest study in the history of the world. From 78 to 88, the USSR sent out an order to every military unit in the vast Soviet Empire that any UFO, any orb, any ball of light.
Real quick, because Rogan's all about the copyright strikes. Global Takeover with the $20. Thank you, sir. Hell yeah. And I don't have the other thing yet, but I will hit you with the Luna.
I've reached out to some of the biggest names in UFO lore, okay? They all got skiff flu, and we call it skiff flu, meaning like the day that the skiff was open that we were...
Thank you for your super chat. I don't have the old one we step for Skyfire for super chats, but let's continue.
Anything weird in the sky, all has to be investigated. And that information had to be funneled to the Ministry of Defense, to the desk of a guy named Colonel Boris Sokolov, who was in charge of this program. And I met him, and he shared a lot of that information with me. And he admitted, we're trying to figure this stuff out, because if we could duplicate that technology, we could kick your ass in terms of stealth. We could beat you at your own game on stealth technology. So they were trying to do it. They're trying to figure it out. We hear bits and pieces that they have recovered crashes as well. So do the Chinese, maybe the Israelis.
I mean, also in these documents. So, and can you tell them who you gave them to, that whole stuff?
China and Israel. That's interesting. See, that's what one of my hopes, right? If Knapp's going to be there, like I said, I hope they kind of play up, and not to be like doomer or anything, but like there's a sense of urgency here. Other countries are doing it too. Like, I feel like for lawmakers, if they were more prescient of that fact, that it's not just some like backwood American thing, you know what I mean? It might help move things along here.
Tell them that.
They got into the hands of the U.S. government. And then that was after I came back from Russia the first time. I went back again in 96. A lot of the people who had been willing to talk to me.
This is a great point too, but by Flat House Media. LOL could easily be a counter intel op, and they wanted Knapp to take that stuff. Exactly. Same thing with Lazar. It seems like whatever the hell happened with Lazar, it seems like certain parties wanted that out there, and like maybe they wanted our enemies to think, like I said, we have all this shit. You know what I mean? It's, you always have to view everything through that lens. I know people hate it. People like to call the counter intel shit drama, but like all this information is existing through this weird counter intel lens that has to be at least thought about. You know,
During Glasnost, were now afraid they would not meet with me. The people who had gone on camera changed their tunes because the whole country had changed in that time period. But the documents also went to OSAP. That's the program that the DIA ran. Bigelow was the contractor for it. And
but you know, you got the open invite whenever you want. No pressure. If you want, just let me know.
they hired a bunch of Russians to go through those documents, figure out the structure of the Russian UFO program, and did a lot more analysis than I could do just by myself.
And in these documents, they talked about shoot down attempts, which is something that we'll be hearing more about over the next 15 weeks, I hope. So in Russia, they had this policy at first to engage these things, and they lost pilots.
Yeah, they had 40 different incidents during that study where Russian warplanes chased UFOs. 3 of those cases, the UFOs turned around and shot them down. They disabled the planes and the planes crashed. 2 of those pilots died. And after the 3rd crash, the Russian Ministry of Defense put out the order, leave them alone. They may have, quote, incredible capacities for attack.
All right. So yes, some of this Russia stuff I think will come out. Maybe, maybe not. Let's go ahead and continue along here.
The New York Times in December of 20.
Here's another vector where it might get interesting and it might get messy, right? He's talked publicly about some of the problems with the 2017 article. I'm trying to find this other clip about it too, but for now, let's listen to this one here.
2017 puts out this story about a program called ATIP. Lou Elizondo came forward and said he'd been involved with ATIP. And, you know, that is what everyone else reported for a couple of years. But the fact is, it was wrong.
The New York Times article in December 2017 mistakenly used that acronym ATIP, and they mistakenly assigned Lou Elizondo to be head of this program. And that, you know, that was a mistaken report.
Yeah, just a whoopsie daisy that the CIFA gang stalker from the mid-2000s connected to Lockheed Martin and Northrop Grumman. Just sort of a big old whoopsie daisy that happened. But, you know, I mean, like we heard there, Knapp straight up said that that was wrong. Let's see.
Reporting by the New York Times.
That story that was done by Ralph Blumenthal, Leslie Kane, Helene Cooper was incredibly important. It was monumentally important for the future evolution of this subject matter. They did get some things that were wrong. I think they did the best they could. They got some things wrong about that, but for those 3 reporters to get this story on, to get it past their editors, to get it published is an amazing feat. They did get some things wrong.
I think the initial sort of breaking of the story did a tremendous service to the whole field. And I think breaking that story was a really landmark achievement. But there were obvious distortions in the detail regarding that story. There were distortions in the New York Times article. The release with the New York Times article was a good thing.
If not for the New York Times story 5 years ago, making it acceptable for other mainstream media to go ahead and dig into this, Congress would not have come out of its closet and embraced this topic as it has. New York Times story made it acceptable for other media to cover it. That gave cover to members of Congress to ask questions, to have closed door briefings. The next couple of years are going to be a lot of fun.
So shout out Green Street. I think Green Street made this edit, but yeah, at various points he's talked about this. Here's the other weird thing though. Like he'll say this, but just on the recent weaponized, and I didn't clip it, but like both him and Corbell are like still kind of standing Lou in a weird way. And I'm not trying to just be like a Lou hater all the time or anything. I just really think that guy is actually like a piece of shit and is tainting everything he touches. So like, I don't know. I hope maybe they'll ask about it. Maybe they won't. I don't know. Just something to be aware of. The dynamics at play and all this bullshit. Yeah. Flathouse Media, massive service to Lou and everyone connected to him, made him famous and rich, all based on a lie. See, exactly. That's like the point that people get lost in it. And they've done a great job of like obfuscating the situation to where it's like, for a while there, at least here, right? It was kind of viewed as like almost annoying to try and get to like what the fuck's actually going on here, or like your hurting disclosure or whatever. And it's like, dude, this is a fucking lie, bro. Like I could just say that I was the director of ATIP or whatever, you know what I mean? Yeah. Ed, great profile picture, bro. Okay, I think we're getting on to the next person now. Okay, so here's this next guy. This is Alexandro Wiggins. This is the Navy guy who a few months back in April released a Tic Tac video filmed from the USS Jackson, I believe. I think I got the video up. Yeah, here's the video.
Wouldn't surprise you, I tell you. You call it the VVSS team. Yeah, like 22,000 feet.
So again, this is 2023 that this video happened in, or near the USS Jackson.
That shit took off earlier.
Wouldn't surprise you, I tell you. You call it the VVSS team. Yeah, like 22,000 feet.
That shit took off earlier.
Oh, sorry, it looped. So yeah, then we got here's a little news report.
This
about it.
is the thermal image of two strikingly similar objects documented by the crew of the USS Jackson in February 2023 in the very same waters. The original Tic Tac proved to be one of the most consequential UFO incidents of all time, first investigated by a secret program based in Las Vegas, managed by the DIA. The incident generated a huge wave of media coverage and inspired Congress to launch new investigations into UFOs, now called UAPs.
I feel obligated to show moral leadership on this issue of UAP disclosure by validating the credibility of the courageous men and women who have come out as witnesses and whistleblowers to expose the truth.
In the most recent congressional hearing into the UAP mystery, retired Rear Admiral Dr. Tim Gallaudet encouraged witnesses to step forward, and now one of them has.
I am Operations Specialist Senior Chief Alexandro Wiggins. Been in the Navy for 23 years and counting.
When Alexandro Wiggins heard that a video from the USS Jackson's encounter with unknown objects was
I like this guy. He seems chill. I'm pausing it just in case for copyright.
circulating, he reached out to the former admiral and was then put in touch with filmmaker Jeremy Corbell, who first released the new Tic Tac video on the podcast Weaponized. Wiggins
on Jolly and Fringe in the chat think the Tic Tac is ours. There's been a lot of discussion about this lately too. Ross Coulthard's saying it. I don't know.
Not only shared details about the encounter, but also his personal connection to Las Vegas. He grew up here, as shown in this photo with his brother in the family's backyard.
I've watched you when your hair was as dark as mine.
In February 2023, Wiggins was a senior chief and radar specialist on the Jackson, an air traffic controller for the Navy. His main job was to identify what might be in the air near the ship. He and others in the Jackson's Combat Information Center saw curious objects on their screens. Wiggins wanted to
see, and this is what I'm saying. Like, we can't really. Corbell and Knapp, I like them, but also everyone has their like kind of issues or whatever. But there's no denying, right? Like the fact that now, whether you want to call it astroturfed or not, that like Corbell is Rogan's kind of go-to UFO guy for years now, right? And like I said, the Bob Lazar video is Rogan's most popular interview, even over Donald Trump still, I believe. He's definitely like on the radar, I feel like, for people like this Wiggins dude to go and release their stuff to, which they have like over the years consistently brought dudes forward like this. You know what I mean? So that is very cool, I think.
Get eyes on whatever it was and went out to take a look.
And to my surprise, which is something I've never witnessed, was a light I noticed on the horizon, but it looked as if it were surfacing out of the water.
He says he jammed back to the combat center and took a closer look on the Sapphire system, which is a thermal sensor, not a camera. The sensor detected not just one, but two Tic Tac shaped objects. Neither showed any hint of an exhaust system or any known propulsion system.
We only saw the one, and then we see the second one. It was only when we zoom out, we realize, holy crap, there's two more out here, a total of four. And all of a sudden,
so we got a whole flight group of them, dude. It's crazy.
You just see all four of them take off to the northeast all at the same time, just out of nowhere. And if I had to talk speed, it would say like maybe 2 steps behind instantaneous.
A former analyst for the Defense Department and Department of State, Merrick von Rennenkamp, scoured air traffic records and found there were no planes or helicopters whose presence might explain the 4 objects seen.
Take that, Mick West. Merrick's on it, bro.
By the Navy crew. Wiggins makes it clear he is not a whistleblower, merely a witness. He says he's loved his years with the Navy. The ship did not file any formal notice about the incident because the Tic Tacs weren't close enough to the ship and did not display hostile intent. As for the Pentagon's UFO office, AARO, current and former military personnel have told us they simply do not trust that operation. Wiggins previously served on the USS Omaha, one of 10 Navy warships, which were buzzed by dozens of unidentified objects in the same area back in 2000.
So this is, Jess was asking earlier, is this the splashdown? No. See, I always found this video interesting too. This is the one where he goes in the water. I think they're about to play it. But I think he just said Wiggins was on this boat too. That's interesting.
He says he's loved his years with the Navy. The ship did not file any formal notice about the incident because the Tic Tacs weren't close enough to the ship and did not display hostile intent. As for the Pentagon's UFO office, AARO, current and former military personnel have told us they simply do not trust that operation. Wiggins previously served on the USS Omaha, one of 10 Navy warships, which were buzzed by dozens of unidentified objects in the same area back in 2019. Radar returns and thermal images documented multiple large circular objects around the Omaha for more than an hour. One of them disappeared into the sea.
Oh, splash.
I just want to be able to step out and kind of give any information I can to help out again and help understand what it is that we're witnessing and what we've been witnessing in the skies this 80 years.
George Knapp, 8 News Now.
Hell yeah. Let's watch this one from Kenyon. Let's see what's up with Kenyon about this. Let's watch this one real quick.
Filmed footage of UAP or UFOs, which this is. We try to get direct witness testimony to go with that. And in fact, these are senior ranking Navy officials. You know, they don't want to go by their full identity at this time, but they will at some point. They're in the Combat Information Center. They get this footage. It's FLIR, forward-looking infrared. So it's black and white. What you're supposed to be seeing, we don't see. We don't see tails. We don't see.
Yeah, this is an important point. Global takeover. Wiggins still active in whistleblowing for real. That's something interesting too. I don't even know if I pulled it or not. I might have pulled like right before it, but yeah, he said that like the Navy's kind of being chill about him doing all this stuff and that he's still active duty, which I do find interesting, right? Everyone else has been retired, right? That's been in this kind of position. Fraver's retired, right? Graves is retired. Grusch was out of the military. So Wiggins being active is interesting. I might have to go. We have to go to the YouTube of Weaponized to watch that part because it is interesting.
Thermal plumes. We don't see any signature of a normal aircraft. So that's what makes this case fascinating. We have both witnesses coming forward as well as the hardcore data and evidence.
And does that mean black is hot there, or what's the thermal imaging and like why do we see that Tic Tac shape?
Sure. Yeah, so this is in black hot. It can switch between the two. But what's really important about this is that the high-ranking Navy official said, we saw one of these come up out of the water. We then went.
I'll say this too. Corbell's pretty good for this kind of thing, right? Like being on the news and stuff. Like it's good to have people like this. I think Greenwald does a good job when he's on the news and stuff like that. People in our community that aren't like schizo crazy talking about this shit. But yeah.
To radar, and we saw 4 of them. We then took our thermal cameras and we looked at one. And when you look at a plane, it looks like a plane. This doesn't look like a plane. In fact, it looks like the Tic Tac from 2004, where Commander David Fravor chased a UFO for the United States military. So look, it's tracked on radar, it's tracked on FLIR. We're lucky to have some of this footage that you're able to see now. But what you're not seeing, Gotti, is you're not seeing the typical signatures you'd see on an aircraft. This is a very unique propulsion system. It appears from this footage. And again, people have come forward and risked to bring this footage to me and George Knapp. And as journalists, we have a duty to put it out after investigating it. I'm glad that it's out now.
Yeah, and I'm glad you're putting it out too. And again, you know, we are lucky to see those images, but what happens all the way before that is what's really important. And I mean, if you get a chance, go back and listen to what Commander Fravor said about what happened back in 2004, opened your eyes. But Jeremy, I know you've been pushing for government disclosure on all this, like harder than anybody else I know. This administration seemed to suggest that they were going to get to the bottom of it, and yet, like, so far, we are pretty well into this. Why aren't
Subterrestrial material, welcome, bro.
we seeing like more tangible evidence from people that aren't just coming forward scared to lose their jobs and scared to lose their livelihoods? Like, why don't you think we're seeing like the government say, this is what's going on?
Yeah, well, that's changing. Easy way or hard way. As you know from the last hearing, when I brought the Immaculate Constellation information to Congress, we learned that there are thousands of high-quality videos that the public has not seen of UFOs. The dam is breaking. People are coming forward. And George Knapp and I have already recorded with some of these whistleblowers. So we know that footage is coming out, those interviews. So I think it's just a matter of time that we're going to get more information on this. Look, it's a long haul thing. UFOs have been taboo for so long. It's now admitted that they're flying with impunity within our restricted airspace. And we have footage like this. Military filmed UAP from a Navy warship in a critical area just off the coast of California. It's going to take time, but you know, you got to be optimistic. You got to keep fighting, easy way or hard way. And this is going to come out.
Yeah, I can't wait to know what is going on.
Yeah, and let's go. I'm going to pull up some weaponized just so we can see, because who was it that pointed that out? Let's give all the kudos. Was it Global Takeover? Yes, Global Takeover. Wiggins still active duty whistleblowing for real. Yes, let's go to weaponized. Boom, 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 boom. Okay.
To come forward with this, both today, showing your face and your name.
Yeah, so I was alerted by Admiral Tim that you and George Knapp had obtained a video of a ship I was on. So through Admiral Tim, he got me in contact with.
Here's another one. Good for Admiral Tim, right? Like I like that he's serving as a liaison for this, but he's also kind of like, a lot of these people are still under the loose spell, which I just feel like taints a lot of it. Yeah.
You, Jeremy. And that's why I was able to, kind of talk with you and get to where we are now.
Yeah, that's good. You were in touch with Admiral Tim. I know that his testimony in front of Congress inspired you to reach out to a Navy admiral and say, hey, I was on a ship, something happened, there's footage going around. And so when George and I obtain that, we often sit on that footage for a long time. But when Admiral Tim told me there was somebody who was there that would talk to us, I was really excited about that. So I just want to start with you establishing, what is your name? What is your rank? Are you currently in the military? And why are you coming forward now?
Yeah, absolutely. I am Operations Specialist Senior Chief Alexandro Wiggins. Been in the Navy for 23 years and counting. And
damn, he still looks pretty young to be in the Navy for 23 years.
I work here in San Diego currently on shore duty. And yeah, my last command was the USS Jackson. That's actually my little going away present right there from the Jackson. Yeah.
And so you're not speaking on behalf of the Navy. You're speaking on behalf of yourself. You're not a whistleblower. You're simply a witness. And it's like us talking about a common interest, which is UAP UFOs, because you've now seen one come up out of the water on radar and on thermal.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I don't view myself as a whistleblower because I associate whistleblowing with something that is wrong and the person speaking up against something or a system that is doing wrong things. Nothing was done wrong here. It's just someone who was eyewitness to a video and to an experience that happened that most people, on the planet don't ever see in their lives, but don't have a way of explaining.
So, the Navy has sort of led the charge in trying to reduce the stigma about reporting UFOs, USOs. The whole government has said, yeah, we're interested in transparency. We want people to come forward. We want witnesses, pilots, aviators, whatever, to come forward. You're one of those guys. You're taking them at their word that you're not going to get in trouble for reporting to the world what you saw.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the Navy knows that I definitely love the organization and everything that it's, provided for me and everything that I've done with the Navy. I really don't see myself as someone who's in the position for speaking for the Navy, because that's not what I'm doing. I'm just someone who witnessed something that was out there, again, in the video that I spoke about with Jeremy and Admiral, that, hey, you know what, I was there. I want to give you my firsthand, witness testimony as to what occurred on that video and a little bit after that video, and just here to
So yeah, pretty
add
interesting,
to-
and I think this kind of speaks to the Navy's the Navy's been really forthcoming with a lot of this stuff, more so than the Air Force, right? That we've seen over the years. They were the first ones to put out like operational procedures and stuff publicly for this stuff in like 2018. I think they were really instrumental in starting up the UAP task force. I don't know if the Air Force equivalent of Mr. Wiggins here would be allowed to like be doing this publicly while still serving. So that is an interesting dynamic to know. Good job. Who is it again? Global Takeover for highlighting that, because yeah, that is interesting. What does that mean? Like I said, everyone else has been not active duty. Okay, let's get back to our little slideshow. Dun-dun-dun. Okay, we're gonna play some clips of him actually talking about the event.
This light emerge from the water at a distance and then go into the air with a solid light, no blinking or anything. I've never noticed that and witnessed that ever in my life. That's kind of what triggered me to go back to my instruments, check it out, talk with the watch team and ask them, are you seeing what I'm seeing? Let's use other sensors. Let's use what we got to see what we're witnessing.
Did you see one of these craft come up out of the water or not out of the water?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So when I say that I saw this craft come out of the water, it's nighttime. So I want to be clear when I say what I saw a light, and it was a decently bright light. So when you've been on the water as long as I have, you know the difference between an aircraft carrier's lights, a difference between an oiler's lights, a fishing, a cargo ship. It's what we learn when we freshly come into the Navy, especially as an operations specialist. We have to learn silhouettes. We have to learn lighting structures, things of that nature. It's just part of what our job is. Being senior enlisted, it's become part of very basic elementary things that you have to know when doing your job. Kind of learning the basics first, and then applying what you experience throughout your time, and then kind of coming up with your solution as what you're seeing. So watching this light emerge from the water at a distance and then go into the air with a solid light, no blinking or anything, I've never noticed that and witnessed that ever in my life. That's kind of what triggered me to go back to.
What's good about Wiggins too, I think, is this event's fairly recent, right? Like 2023, not even 2 years, right? The Tic Tac was what, 2004. It's kind of like really hard to like, time just makes everything harder to parse together.
My instruments, check it out, talk with the watch team and ask them, are you seeing what I'm seeing? Let's use other sensors. Let's use what we got to see what we're witnessing. One thing I do want to add is that when I witnessed that, I wasn't feeling threatened. I didn't think, the ship is going to get attacked. And why didn't I think that? Because multiple reasons. I'm not at a different level of ROE. I'm not postured in such a way off the coast of San Diego where we're receiving intel that there's a significant level threat, that we need to be at a higher threat level. None of this is happening, right? We're off the coast. We're doing workups. We're, doing training, things of that nature. So nothing made me think that we need to, trigger a higher level of threat warning.
All right, let's go to the next one here.
It was an evening into the night watch. We were standing, and typical day underway, conducting normal operations off the coast of San Diego. And there was a time that I witnessed on my radar a few contacts popping up. It was northeast on the contact on the radar. The radar's in true, so northeast-ish, looking at the radar, and noticed a few things come in and out. I've been in the Navy for 23 years, so as an operations specialist, so I know the difference between helicopters, which I'm a helo controller myself, with an NEC of helo control, and knowing the difference between that, commercial navigation radars, which are your typical ComNav that are, going to Hawaii possibly, and then atmospherics. So things like clouds, rainstorms, things like that. You learn over, the years to differentiate what's what on your radar. So that night, I noticed that I couldn't differentiate what was what at all amongst the things that I just mentioned. So I decided to go out into the bridge wing just to take a look, to see. I didn't think it was that far away. I think, it's nighttime, so light travels. So I figured, let me just poke outside, see what I can see. And to my surprise, which is something I've never witnessed, was a light I noticed on the horizon, but it looked as if it were surfacing out of the water and going up. Now, seeing lights on the horizon, very typical when you're out in the water, but seeing a light on the horizon going into the air is a different story. So witnessing that, I'm not sure of what I'm seeing. What goes through my head, maybe there's a military team that's out there conducting flight operations, and maybe their helos hovering, something like this, but their lights blink. I'm a helo controller, so I know that their lights, their running lights are going to be blinking, red, green, and pulsating. So it's not like it's going to be a solid light, and that's what I witnessed, was a solid light rising from the horizon up. So went back inside, looked at my radar to just kind of match what I'm seeing with my own eyes, and I didn't really see what I thought I was going to see. I only saw one light visually, but then I saw 4 different contacts on radar. So seeing those 4 contacts on radar, I asked our CSM, I forget what that stands for right now, but Combat Systems, I forget the full title, but asked the CSM to take a look on Sapphire. They're in charge of managing Sapphire and moving it around, to just look at surface and air contacts around our ship. So they slew over to the location that I gave them, the direction in which I gave them, and that's where you see the video cut into play, where you see it slew into that target to kind of look at it. And they're the operators, so they know how to zoom in and kind of see what the profile of the contact that we're looking at, to kind of understand, okay, if it were a ComNav radar, which is a typical airliner 747, then we're going to say, okay, good to go. They're headed off to Hawaii or wherever, anywhere to the west.
One more of him describing the events, and actually no, we don't. Okay. So now we're on to Jeff Nuccatelli. Now this guy's been in the mix for quite a while. I added another song here. Let's see what song this is. Oh, good. We've got some good. Yes, this is a nice little, a little more neutral of a spooky sound. Here we go. So yeah, let's hear him talking about it on Weaponized back in the day. Oh yeah, so I don't think he saw it himself, but this is the event he describes. A few people did mock-ups on X, like a giant red cube type thing. Let me see. I think I did, before I started, I think I did a little, I think I AI'd it. Let's see. Did we animate it in AI? Maybe, maybe not. Oh yeah, here we go. Okay. So yes, a giant cube over Vandenberg Air Force Base in, I think, 2003, right? And we heard Burlison talk about this dude. Let's, I guess, listen to it first.
About 8:45 in the morning, the dispatcher gets a call from range control.
This is on merged. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut out Ryan Graves of that, but I just wanted that on the screen too.
A technical sergeant from range control, and he says, "I'm reporting an event that occurred at LF-21 and LF-10, 2 different sites in the same location." And what he said was the contractors working on site called range control, and he said there was a gigantic floating red square over LF-21 at low altitude, and they were just standing there watching this thing.
Red square. So
red square.
One thing that people have asked me after I spoke about this case at the hearing was, what does that mean, a red square, right? Was this a Was this a cube? Did it not look like it had depth, and so it's described as a square? I said square in the hearing because that's how it was described to me, just as you described it. And I'm curious if you have any additional details that you could add. Was it a three-dimensional object? Did it just appear to be a square, and it just couldn't tell?
From what? So here's the issue. I had the original statement from the contractors. There were 3 contractors that worked for Boeing that saw this object, and they wrote sworn written statements. I've lost those. I lost them in 2012. I have some other statements, but those are indirect witness statements from. But from my recollection of reading,
by the way, I think this interview happened in 2023.
The documents, to the best of my recollection, it was a somewhat flattened square plane, and basically just a big square object, the size of a football field, silently floating over the launch pad.
Wow.
Red in color, glowing this red color. So as far as I know, it wasn't a cube. It was like a flattened square.
Got it.
So there's a little thing here. We got a few people talking about it. Rep Luna talked about this at the Grusch hearing, if you guys remember or not, where Ryan Graves.
My next question.
This is the 2023 July Grusch hearing.
Would actually be for Mr. Graves. Can you please explain to me in detail the event that occurred at Vandenberg Air Force Base?
Certainly. In the 2003 timeframe, a large group of Boeing contractors were operating near one of the launch facilities at Vandenberg Air Force Base when they observed a very large 100-yard sided red square approach the base from the ocean and hover at low altitude over one of the launch facilities. This object remained for about 45 seconds or so before darting off over the mountains. There was a similar event within 24 hours later in the evening. This was a morning event, I believe 8:45 in the morning. Later in the evening, post-sunset, there were reports of other sightings on base, including some aggressive behaviors. These objects were approaching some of the security guards at rapid speeds before darting off. And this is information that was received through one of the witnesses that have approached me at Americans for Safe Aerospace.
Was this documented in any official form, whether it was a police blotter?
Yes, they had official documentation and records from the event that the witness
I got to give kudos to Ryan Graves, although he is kind of answering for the guy. He maybe should have specified that, like, it's not my event. He's being one of these facilitators again of these witnesses, right, and whatnot. Good for him. Good for him.
And I'm not going to ask you to do it right now for time reasons, but you'd be able to sketch what was witnessed, correct? And have you seen that before on any other equipment and or during your flight time?
I have not seen what they've described. This object was estimated to be almost the size of a football field, and I have not seen anything personally that large.
She brought it up again recently on Rogan. Let's go there.
In our hearing, we are actually notified, and you can pull this up. I think it was one of the witnesses had talked about what had happened at Vandenberg Air Base, where there was this thing that appeared over the base. It actually had multiple blotters reporting on it from phone calls into law enforcement from like hundreds of people. And whatever had appeared over the base was basically bigger than a football field and basically a cube, a red cube with some weird thing in the center of it. I actually had our witness draw this out. This guy is sober as a priest. I mean, was a great pilot, and he's talking about all this. And so, you talk about this stuff, it seems like a sci-fi movie, but based on the evidence that we've seen, I don't have any reason to believe that these people are lying. Based on the evidence that I've seen from our own government, I think that there's something there that the American people deserve to have access to. And so this is not just on this topic, but again, in other topics as well, this has been my perspective, is transparency is what builds trust. Other governments have revealed certain information on it. To think that we are the only, life form on this planet or in this galaxy, I think is a little bit crazy, given, the fact that I also think God exists and that there's other creations.
Oh, yeah. We're getting all into that. Okay, I asked him some questions because I was curious about the whole, I'm curious about certain, like, how a lot of this shit goes down. Let's see, do we have it? Oh, real quick, too. Maybe worth looking at. He has a podcast, this Jeff Nuccatelli guy. Interviewed David Hooper and Gary Hesselstein so far. Still pretty fresh, pretty new. But definitely seems like someone interested in the topic. Yeah, I do have that one. Okay, so next we got when I asked him about some of the logistics of all this stuff.
Church could go into that. All right, Panda, we're discussing the...
Shout out Astral, shout out UFO Twitter Week, because this guy was just on UFO Twitter Week. And also, Here's a picture of him and Lou. Again, not everyone who like is a fan of Lou is like horrible or anything like that. Lou's really good at putting on a good face, but I do get it just gives me the EBGBs because this dude's his stock is tanking so hard right now, and like he's taking everything down with him.
Drones, definitely wanted to bring you up here. What's up, dude?
What up? Actually, my question's about so Jeff, thanks for being up here, and also Tom, and good job, Astral. You'd said I'm curious about like, so we got your sighting, right? How did you get linked up with like the witness, like military witness crew? And then I'll just play the clip too, because I find it fascinating what you'd said of how Luna kind of like revealed your thing at the hearing. I'll just play the clip. She's reading a paper and looking at Ryan Graves, and she mentions your event. Let's see.
My next question would actually be for Mr. Graves. Can you please explain to me in detail the event that occurred at Vandenberg Air Force Base?
Certainly. In the 2003 timeframe, a large group of Boeing contractors were operating near one of the launch facilities at Vandenberg Air Force Base when they observed a very large 100-yard sided red square approach the base from the ocean and hover at low altitude over one of the launch facilities. This object remained for about 45 seconds or so before darting off over the mountains. There was a similar event within 24 hours later in the evening. This was a morning event, I believe 8:45 in the morning, later in the evening post sunset.
Okay, so yeah, Ryan Graves goes on about a bit. So yeah, I'm curious about how you got connected with the group, and then it kind of sounds like you were saying like you were kind of surprised when you heard that in the hearing, like you didn't expect that to happen. I'm just curious like how that all kind of went down. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the question. So the way it went down, I had the documentation from that event, the Red Square event. I had the official Air Force Form 53, which is the police blotter, which is a record of the actual event. And I had one witness statement from the controller at range control that received the complaint from the contractors. So he's the guy they called and said, hey, we've got a UFO. So I had those documents, and I got a hold of Ryan Graves, and basically he helped walk me through the process. So he introduced me to Congress, the Senate, their staffers. He got me involved with Aero, and that's how I got involved. So I established trust with Ryan Graves and his partner Brad Crispin, and that's how I got in. Now, as far as the hearing, when I initially approached Ryan and I briefed Congress, and I think, I can't remember off the top of my head if I had already talked to Aero or not. But the point is, I had not talked to the witnesses from Vandenberg yet. And my plan was to get in the door, get Congress the evidence, and then I wanted to go and track down as many witnesses as I could, because there was like 60 or 80 of us on duty the night we had our event. And the same thing with the Vandenberg, the Red Square. There was probably 80 people on duty. And I'm like, I'm going to go track.
So this is something commendable too, right? And I get people are frustrated, and there is something to be said where I think I wanted crash retrieval things, but this dude Jeff seems to be doing a lot of the legwork too, right? Like it takes legwork. We're dealing with something that isn't open with us, right? Like, yes, fuck the government, but also fuck the UFOs because they're not really like. What else can we do, right? Like, all we can do is really collect witnesses and shit.
Track down everybody I can find from Vandenberg that was there. Everybody that was notified in the chain of command. I'm going to find any documentation I can, put it all together in a package, and then I'm going to walk it out to the public through Congress. That was my plan. And Representative Luna, without coordinating with me, just brought it up. So Ryan was not expecting it to come up, and neither was I. So it was a shock.
And she just had that file on you, or do you think there was kind of did someone kind of maybe seed that to her, or was there any kind of? Cause There's some weird shit that happens at these hearings too. I was thinking in the framework. Actually, let's just let him play a little bit. Weirdness about that.
I had briefed Congress prior to that, and I had provided the documentation to them. So there were members of Congress that had the information. I don't know if she actually had, if I had provided them with the unredacted versions of the paperwork, or they got that later. But she knew about the event.
Cool. And have you been able to collect a lot of those other witnesses since in the year since you kind of started going public?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
At the end there, and actually no, it's already kind of going along here. The little thing at the end there is I think what might lead us into the next guy, because if you remember, Burlison had said 2 Air Force, 1 Navy, right? So we already got this guy Jeff is Air Force, and he's already kind of been on this mission to find other people. So this leads us to the next guy, this Dylan Borland. Not a lot about him. Jess, our lovely mod, was mistaken and demodded. No, I'm just kidding. The article she had found was actually about Wiggins. So there's really nothing about this guy online. I'm just guessing that he might be connected to Jeff's event, because Jeff has spoken about like getting all these other witnesses and whatnot. Let me see. Was there anything about him that we had? Oh, Skywalker. Hell yeah. Good work, Red. Not impressed with the new whistleblowers. We need COs and admirals speaking up. We need some real evidence. That is true. We do need a higher level. And thank you, Skywalker. And you had a great question to Burlison that spawned some of the discussion about it, about some of these whistleblowers. I don't want to knock them, though, too, right? Because these guys are doing what they think is right? It just, I don't know. Maybe that's something George Knapp could speak to about, like, some of this other stuff. But, yeah, let's see. What do we have? Okay, so we have his X account. So all we have is his X account. Dylan Borland. We're just gonna hyper analyze it then. Screw it. Ain't much else to look up for this guy, and then we're done. We've gone through all the witnesses. Cecil Zondo, yes. Okay. So here's Dylan Borland. I'm pretty sure this is his account. Thank you, Skywalker. Hell yeah. The reason why I say that is because now, mind you, made February 2025, so fairly recent. Can you see that? I might have to zoom in more. Okay. February 2025. Let's look at who he's following. Following Pope Leo. And actually, wait, real quick. Sorry, first. Roman Catholic. For there is not anything secret that shall not be made manifest, nor hidden that shall not be known and come abroad. Luke 8:17. Following, we'll go from the beginning. Jeremy Kenyon, Lockyer, Corbell, first follow. George Knapp, second follow. Boom. Ivan Hannell, third follow. That's interesting. Michael Herrera, fourth follow. Oak Shannon, another interesting one in relation to the Wilson Davis memo. Matthew Brown, fifth follow, sixth follow. Pasulka, okay. Dan Hogg. Now, this is a guy who I think might be a whistleblower or something. This ties into the LM stuff. Apparently, Disclosure Tonight was also digging dirt on this guy back in the day. That's sidebar. Tucker Carlson, Eric Weinstein, and Pope Leo. Not following Chris Mellon, not following Lou Elizondo. I like to hyperlook at everything. So I feel like there is something being said with that. But following Lou's lawyer. Let's see. Yeah, so here's the other thing too. He doesn't have many posts. So he's got this post from, what is that show? King of the Hill? Hank Hill, I guess it's a song or something. Maybe we'll play it. What the hell is it? Maybe, it's not letting me go anywhere. That's weird. Okay, look at this. When I click the link, this is what I get. YouTube is blocked. Really weird. I don't know what that's about. He got one that says they grow up so fast, and you got chickens, I guess. That's cool. Chickens are dope. And then, while fishing this morning, had a bald eagle fly right overhead and land on the tree next to me. The things that happened when you least expect it. ... Uh-oh. I wonder what happened there. I wonder if that's today he talked to Congress or something. He doesn't have many posts. There's not much to go through here, and then his first post ever is just a retweet of this Tucker Carlson interview with John Kiriko, which some of the topics covered I found interesting. Speaking out against the CIA's torture program, why the CIA loved Obama, why John Brennan hated Kiriko, the CIA's torture techniques. So this guy's talking a lot about torture, right? The FBI's long observed investigations into Kurokawa's life. Let me see. Obama's drone strikes against American citizens. Do CIA employees think they're good? How the CIA infects people with cancer. The CIA's MK Ultra program. How 9/11 turned the CIA into a paramilitary group. The CIA employees go to Seth Rich. Now, see, I'm always schizoanalyzing stuff, but I think this kind of, it's interesting that he's not following Lou and he retweets this thing that has to do with 9/11 turning America into a rogue state. I mean, a paramilitary group, especially considering what Lou did with SIFA, and that Lou was a torturer, and there's all this torture stuff. So I don't know if that's a statement or not. Maybe he just forgot to follow Lou, and he's part of the Lou fold too. But yeah, that's that. So I think that's about it, guys. That's those are the 4 people going to be speaking. Let's see. Yeah, let's just go to the beginning. That was it. Who are you guys most excited for? What do you guys want to see? I'm excited. In the 50s, there was like maybe one thing every 2 years worth getting excited about. You know, I think America is kind of like a militaristic society, and having all these military dudes speaking about stuff, I think will help push the needle forward a little bit. It would have been nice to have maybe like more of a Grusch type person, or like people are saying like somebody in the legacy programs or something like that, but I don't know. Thank you guys so much. I might do a stream again later to cover why I think Eric Davis is being blackmailed to like shit talk UAP Gerb, or I might save that for tomorrow. I'll catch you guys on X Spaces or something. Thank you all so much. Thank you for the super chats that we had. We had Global Takeover and Skywalker. Have a great night, everyone. Peace out.